Dan Schufetan. Schufetan is going to tell us all about Palestinians. I'm Tyler Traveling Clat, your favorite white colonizing Zionist prince, your sweet Zionist prince. And I have sunglasses on because I have dry eyes and my eyes hurt from looking at the screen. So sorry about that. Let's take a look at this clip.
I remember you were like, okay, like between Israel and the Palestinians, you were okay with like a two-state solution if there ever was one. That wouldn't that mean like Israel would still be a democracy, but Palestine would be a dictatorship because you say like Arabs can't do democracy?
First of all, I have never used the term two-state solution because anybody who uses the word solution in the Middle East doesn't realize that the only thing in life that has a solution is a crossword puzzle. Okay? I don't use the term solution.
Where do you come up with all those phrases?
With what?
With all those funny phrases.
You see, while you are in real life, I live in the world of thinking and analyzing and so on. So you probably have achievements in other things, and with me it all happens up here.
But I mean, the Palestinians at one point will have either their own state or be with the Israelis.
I don't think they want to have their state. And if they would have wanted, they could have had it in 2008. They could have had it 5 times before that. But the last time, 2008, what Ehud Olmert offered them was the most generous thing that you can possibly imagine from the Israeli side, and they rejected it.
We talked about it that last time.
Okay. I don't think... If we spoke about it, I don't remember what we spoke about, but if we spoke about it, you know that I advocate unilateralism. I advocated for decades now, for almost 50 years. I want to get out of the overwhelming majority of the West Bank. I was very instrumental, I'm told more instrumental than others, in persuading Sharon to get out of Gaza unilaterally. I would get out of the overwhelming majority of the West Bank. I would partition Jerusalem according to the demographic composition that we have today. And because I am sure there will not be an Israeli-Palestinian agreement, it's impossible. And therefore, since I don't want to control them, I want to get out unilaterally. But if they get a state, it will be like the other Arab states.
Like a dictatorship.
Corrupt, dictatorial, with emphasis on arms and armies and security forces. The difference between a European state and states that we have in the Middle East today is that in Europe you have a state and the state has a police. In the Middle East there is a police and the police has a state. Okay? And this is what you have with the Palestinians today, and this is what you will have. First of all, we have a Palestinian state already in Gaza, and it's one of the most repulsive places on earth that you can possibly think of. And I don't think that the state, if we will have one, in the West Bank will be much better. Perhaps it will be somewhat less radical, but I think within a short period of time, Hamas will take over, or something like Hamas will take over in the West Bank as well. And they don't want a state because as long as they're not a state, they can get billions of dollars, and they are in the center of world politics. And the moment they get a state, they will be a little crummy, poor, backwards, corrupt Arab state, and nobody will be interested in them. The only reason people even know that Palestinians exist is that you can blame the Jews. If you wouldn't blame the Jews, nobody would even know that Palestinians exist. Most people in the world don't know anything about any state in the Middle East, but they know about the Palestinians because you can blame the Jews. So I don't think that we are...
I mean, Israel occupies the West Bank. It still occupies Gaza. So,
first of all, Israel doesn't occupy Gaza, and
they control the border, they control the air, they control the port.
They control
who gets in.
First of all, every country should control its border. First of all, okay?
Yes.
But nobody has a right to come into Israel unless I want him to come in.
Sure.
This is one thing. Second, The only reason Israel controls the sea and the air is that the Gazans want only to kill Jews. They don't want their children to have a better life. They want to kill Jews. Okay? This is what they want. This is what they get up in the morning.
Everybody in Gaza?
I am not a social worker. I don't know if every German in the Second World War wanted to kill Jews or to fight Russia. And I don't care. I'm not interested in what each and every person wants. For this, you have social workers. If you want to seriously discuss, therefore, in a way that is not very popular in Europe, if you want seriously to discuss a political entity, you should ask yourself, what is the dynamic of what is happening there? Why is it that only radicals take over in most Arab states? Okay? Why is it that that in Egypt, when you throw down Mubarak, the only choice is the Muslim Brothers or a military dictatorship, and the only real choice, not La La Land choice, okay, the only real choice is between military dictatorship and something that is even worse than military dictatorship. This is the choice in Egypt, okay? And again, you can have the La La Land perception. What about the nice people? I know hundreds of nice people in Egypt myself. I enjoyed meeting the leaders of the revolution in Egypt in 2011. And I told them, guys, I love you. You're the best thing that can happen to Egypt, but you're not Egypt. You're not Egypt. You can bring 100,000 people to Tahrir Square, but there are 90 million out there who are not you. And therefore, in spite of the enormous respect I have for these people, they are not Egypt. So you must look not at nice people that you know and what would have happened if they could lead their society. In very much the same way as we agreed, one of the few things we agreed about, that a change of regime must come from the inside. What does it mean to come from the inside? People who want what you and I want, a more pluralistic society, an open society, and so on, will take over. This will be a regime change, right? So the question is, can they take over? And the question is, are there nice people? I'm sure there are nice people everywhere. And there are nasty people everywhere. The only question is, who takes over? There are barbarians in every country. I can show it in my country. I'm sure you can show it in your country. The question is, have they taken over? And there are nice people in every country. And the question is, do they take over or do they not take over?
I'm dreaming that Palestinians and Israelis live in the same state. We get a...
This will be a catastrophe.
This
is the worst of all possibilities.
I don't agree.
You wouldn't get provoked.
No, I promise to be provoked. This is the worst option. This will be a civil war.
Everything will be Israel.
Civil war. I'm against it.
There wouldn't be a civil war if everybody had equal rights.
Can we say bullshit?
Yes.
Okay, bullshit. Look, people are not aggressive because they were wronged. You know what? If somebody a rapist comes to rape your daughter, it is only because no other girl was willing to have healthy sex with him. So let us just give you his other daughter and see if it works.
The rapists are the Palestinians in your example.
You assume that there is no evil in people. There are no pedophiles and no rapists and no murderers and no... because...
Put them in jail.
The point is that if you have an ethos of a people... You see, this is why I cannot take Europeans seriously. Because this Friede, Freude, Eierkuchen approach of let's all be nice people and live together and ride into the sunset and live happily ever after.
Such a wrong ideology. So, I'm going to talk about this at the end of the video, but such a wrong ideology.
Good for, I don't know, this is good for people who live in La La Land, who are not part of the real world. And this approach doesn't help us to deal with real problems. Okay? I'm not saying Palestinians are rapists. I am saying you are assuming that all people have the same motivation about everything. I am trying to bring you an example from the non-political world. I'm not saying that this is applicable to the Palestinians. What I'm saying is, you assume that there is no such thing as a rapist or a mass murderer or somebody like Pol Pot or like Stalin. Bring Pol Pot to your home and treat him nicely and give him Kaffee mit Kuchen und Schlagsahne and assume that that Pol Pot, once he will see the Schlagsahne, will say, well, you know, why should I have butchered so many Cambodians? You don't understand, or you don't want to understand, because your problem is not analytical or intellectual. The problem is not intelligence. The problem is that you think in terms that are unrealistic. You cannot build a society on these assumptions, because according to your assumptions, why should you have a police force? All you have to do is to treat people equally. And when you treat people equally, there will be no crime.
If there's a rape, if there's a murder, it doesn't matter if it's a Jew or a Palestinian.
Of course not.
They get in jail.
Of course
So
not. No, but the issue is not just individual. You are not aware that people in a group behave differently than individual people.
you give me the example last time, like with one 15-year-old boy coming.
Exactly.
So yeah, I remember.
Exactly. And that is tremendously important to understand. A collective behaves differently. Look, let me give you a specific example. When you had barbarian Palestinians, no other way to describe it, coming to buses in Tel Aviv and exploding in the middle of a bus or in the middle of a restaurant, barbarians, subhuman barbarians, okay? My problem was not with them. My problem was that the Palestinian society, all of it, as a collective, considered them to be heroes and considered them to be their representatives. Now, is it possible that many of them privately said to themselves, this is terrible, this is barbarian? Yes. My assumption is it happened.
Yes.
But could they speak in public? No. And the moment they can't speak in public, what they say deep in their heart is only interesting for their cardiologist. It is not interesting to me, because I'm trying to ask myself, how does a collective behave? And a collective is not the simple sum of its individuals. It is much more complicated than that. Now, I know personally hundreds of Arabs who I have tremendous respect for. And a few years ago, I don't know if it was before we met or after, I said to one of them, every time I see you, it warms my heart. And his answer was, don't misunderstand the situation. People like me are not marginal in Arab society. We are negligible. Am I sure that if I know hundreds of them on a personal level, there are millions of them in the Arab world? Yes, I'm sure there are millions. What is their effect in Syria? What is their effect in Yemen? What is their effect in... And don't tell me one day in the future, because telling me one day in 20 years, they already told me 30 years ago, okay? And I've seen it. Okay. Because they told me, you will see, when the regime changes, when we will have a major a movement in the Arab world to remove the existing regimes, then you will see who will take the lead. And I saw who took the lead. And I'm sorry that these people that I respect so much in Egypt and in other places didn't take the lead, but I was not surprised. I'm sorry, but not surprised. Because, again, I see how a collective behaves.
Listen, he's correct about the latter half of this. He's not correct at all, and I can say that openly, about solution for the land. Now, I'm speaking from a perspective of a less educated person, and many people disagree with me on this. But there is no, and I will say this again, no moral or ethical justification to creating another Palestinian state, to creating an Arab Islamic ethno-state in the Middle East. There's no moral justification to it. Even if that means to protect Jewish lives in Israel so we could live separate to each other, it's still not a justification. Why? Because if you create a separate Palestinian state, you're going to be at war with it forever. It makes so much more sense. The way I see it, we're going to war either way. The current situation will lead to a civil war, like a civil war within our borders. If you give independence, that'll lead to a war. If you declare sovereignty, that'll declare a war. Every single which way you cut it, the Palestinians will go to war with us. There's no way around it. Unfortunately, as much as we want to think in peaceful terms, and I really do, my preference is not war. You can ask anybody. I don't want war. I don't want to fight people. I don't want to kill people. I don't want my country to have to do that. I don't want my soldiers and my kids who are growing now, who are about to graduate high school, I don't want them to go risk their lives to protect me and my future wife and my future kids. I don't want it. I'm not interested in it. No, but none of us want it. But any which way you cut it, let's go one by one. If you do a two-state solution, the Palestinian state that will be created will be anti-Israel, will be Arab supremacist, and will be an Islamic supremacist society. There's no way around that. That's just what Palestinian society is in the current moment. So if you make that state, that's what's going to happen. They will directly be funded by Iran now that there's no filter. They will have Hamas's ideology and they will attack again. And maybe this time even stronger if they can get their hands on ballistic missile capabilities and they have their own army. They will attack to liberate Palestine in their mind, whatever that means. So in that situation, you're going to war. In the current context with the pseudo-military occupation that we have over the West Bank, and this sort of like gray zone area where there's parts A, parts B, parts C. Some people can go here, some people can. We're also going to war. Eventually there will be another uprising. Eventually there will be an October 7th, God forbid, but there will be. That's where we're heading. Everybody will tell you. Everyone will tell you. And lastly, if you declare sovereignty, you're going to war. Because they will declare war on you for declaring sovereignty. So any which way you cut it, there's a war that's going to happen. I say declare sovereignty on your terms, start the war, filter the people out who want to kill and destroy the state of Israel, and yalla, let's move on. That's my opinion. Hot take. Let's see you guys in the comments down below. See you in the next one. Love you a long time. Goodbye, clats. If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.